All right, joining us for, I guess this is the last time, Tate. Certainly not the last time of the season, but this is the last time for the regular scheduled
times, yes,
Friday
yes,
show.
yes,
Is
yes.
Andy Katz live in Indianapolis? What time is it even there? It's past midnight. The hardest working man in college basketball media. I guess let's start with you being in Indianapolis, Andy. We just spent a lot of time talking about the scene at the end of the Indiana game when Archie Miller's team cannot throw the ball in the ocean to end the game. And this is the first time, at least to my knowledge, that there were that many fans, and it's in Indianapolis, and you can very clearly on television hear them chanting "Fire Archie." As someone who was in the building, what was that scene like? Just speak to that. Like, what was it as weird as what it felt like on TV?
Yes. What was surreal was this was the first game that I've been to with fans. I went to a couple of games in the Northeast, Providence, UConn, went to a Wisconsin game, was at the Mohegan Bubble. So this was the first day where there were fans that I've experienced this season. I know there's been fans at other venues earlier, in other parts of the country. So here we are inside the Lucas Oil Stadium. I finally see fans, and they're booing. And they're saying, "Fire Archie." It got loud.
Yeah.
So it was really surreal. It actually, kind of in a weird way, kind of felt semi-normal that you had some jeering going on. First of all, I don't know how he didn't hear it.
Yeah.
Because it's still kind of echoey because it's not a packed house, obviously. But they were awful offensively down the stretch. I mean, just brutal. It's not a good situation. I don't know what else to say. It's just not a good situation. I don't understand it. I've been one of these people early on that thought Indiana would be much better. I like their talent. I think Trace Jackson Davis is one of the better players at his position in the country. There are times when, I know they haven't been healthy, but there are times when healthy that Finney, Franklin, Hunter, Durham, they're all more than capable. Race Thompson's an ultimate glue guy. And I know they didn't have Joey Brunk, so there weren't always, and he was another, factor inside. But still, I like their team, and it has just not worked.
I liked him too. We saw him in Asheville early, and I was like, I think this could work. Like, theoretically, they're gonna have to. The shooting was always going to be a question mark, but yeah, it was certainly a disappointing season. It's so funny that you speaking of the fans, just that I was just thinking this. We spent the last calendar year just kind of thinking in our heads, man, it's going to be so great to go back to a sporting event. Like, how fun is that going to be? And you just picture like this utopia where all the fans are just kind of like putting arms around each other. It's like, we don't even care what's happening on the court. It's just great to be back. And instead, it's the exact opposite.
Like, get this guy out of here. Fire him. Andy, I wanted to ask you just about being in Lucas Oil Stadium, because that's where we're going to have the national championship game, obviously. Titus and I were talking about atmosphere, in an actual tournament game. If you're a top-seeded team, you get down by, 8, 10 points. You get a little bit tight. The crowd starts turning against you. Did you feel an atmosphere at all with, the amount of people in there? And obviously you said you could hear the Fire Archie chants, but is there a chance we can build an atmosphere with this limited amount of fans?
Yeah, because first of all, from what I understand, there's probably going to be around 12,000 fans for the Final Four, in that 12 to 15 range, because they're going to have the whole arena. It's 2 courts now. Big Ten's only one side. So basically they cut it in half, and they told the Big Ten that they could have, I think, around 6,000 because they're only using half the stadium.
Wow.
Now you take down that curtain once you get to the Final Four. As I said, there will be 2 sides early in the tournament, but once you get to the Final Four, they'll have 12,000. So I think there will be some sort of an atmosphere. I mean, I wasn't at a Colts game, but it's very comparable to that. I will say this, and Mark and I are both Big Ten guys. I want to give a shout out to the Big Ten because I think they have and are doing a great job. Now, I have to admit, obviously, I'm in a better position doing stuff for BTN and being down low, but I think it's been seamless. We've had great access. The fact that I've been able to do interviews in person, both pregame and halftime and postgame, I mean, I feel that feels normal to me, even though I'm a little distant. And I think they've done a really wonderful job of keeping a safe environment. We've been testing, and I don't know. I just really was impressed with the way the Big Ten has put this event on. Obviously, it's a trial run for the NCAA tournament, but it just kind of feels like the postseason.
No, it's good.
And for those of you listening and not watching on YouTube, Andy is not wearing his 30 Big Ten logos that he sometimes does when he comes on the show. As he was saying all that, so this feels a little
that was
genuine.
real. Yeah,
it doesn't feel like he's got
heart.
the Big Ten gun to his head to say all that. Speaking of the NCAA tournament, because I think that's where all of our mindset is even as the conference tournaments are going on. It was fun watching this all today, but we're all kind of focused on the big dance, obviously. We just got done talking about the Duke situation, and Duke has a positive test within the program. They cannot continue in the ACC tournament, and I don't know how worthwhile it is to discuss Duke in that regard. We were more interested, Andy, in the application moving forward, because this seems insane, this idea that if this truly would happen Gonzaga is where your mind goes. They're undefeated. They're number one in the country. Gonzaga is about to start this run to maybe be the first undefeated team we've seen since 1976, and they have one positive test. They're out of the tournament. That is what the rule says right now, and we don't buy that, do we, Andy? We don't buy that. That can't be true. That can't be how it works.
It is not.
Okay.
And I will say this. I'm not as well-versed in the ACC protocols, so please don't quiz me on that as to why the decision was made to pull Duke's entire team out of this event on Thursday night with one positive. I do know for the NCAA tournament that even before you get to Indy, you're supposed to have 7 days of negative tests.
Mm-hmm.
What that means is that's been going on this entire time, back to last weekend, including teams in the America East, so all across the country. And then what we've seen is teams that are already clinching. Cleveland State, for example, they won their tournament in the Horizon League here in Indianapolis. They haven't left. So they immediately went into the protocols, into the hotel. The Big Ten teams, like Michigan State, which lost on Thursday, they're not leaving. And I'm not saying you won't get a positive test, but the way they're running it in the NCAA tournament hotels, and there are 4 of them that are all connected to the convention center with the little skyway, each player has their own room. Each team has its own floor. The elevators are being controlled. I'm telling you, they have thought of everything. And once again, I'm not saying they won't have a positive test, but it'll be more surprising if there is one once you are here in Indianapolis, based on everything that they're doing, the separation of, each player, the way they're sleeping, the way they're eating, so that if there is a positive, that they can basically say, look, that player was not with this other player for consecutive 15 minutes.
That makes me feel better, because I wasn't buying that for a second. That if it's easy to say if it's a 15 seed and they test positive, get them out of here and we'll figure it. But there's got to be, because then we have a real mess on our hands. If a Gonzaga, a Baylor, a Illinois can't, then it's like, well, what's the point of the tournament at all?
One of the stories we heard early on was that, I think Calipari even mentioned this, that, he was going to bus up to Indianapolis. So there were some other teams like trying to figure out travel because of COVID things. Are we going to get like full on coverage of these teams as they come into Indianapolis and we discuss how they got there? Like, is this going to be a whole thing as we get closer to the tournament?
I doubt it. I'm just telling you, the coverage has been very, I wouldn't say cloak and dagger, but it's just sort of teams are sliding in here. If you can bus, they wanted you to bus. And if you could fly, obviously they flew you in, charter. I can't even imagine the expense of testing and all the travel, the protocols, everything. Even on the bus, they had it, there was diagrams of, sort of every other, zigzag, same with the planes, how everyone was traveling. So they've kind of thought of everything, and to the point of where I was told that I think they rented I can't even give you the number of how many washing machines and dryers that from like Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that, because think about 68 teams doing laundry, over the course of this next week. Now, once we get to a week from Tuesday, so the 22nd, we're going to be down to 16.
Yeah.
Much more manageable.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's going to happen is, now this will be it. If I were an Indianapolis TV station, okay, the way we would see in LA, where you guys are, with a chopper, we'll follow the car chases. I want to see a chopper in Indiana. So I'm saying this to the Indiana sports TV, local news. Get your choppers up there, because in that following week, we're going to see controlled outside time. Could be at the Indy 500, could be at the Victory Field right behind me, the AAA stadium, could be on top of parking decks. I think there's going to be literally time where they're going to have, okay, Team X, go spend an hour outside.
It's recess.
It's recess.
They're having recess.
Right. So I think it'd be actually kind of cool, whether it's a drone or a chopper, to see, like Gonzaga playing, why am I drawing a blank on that game at the beach?
Spike
you know what I'm
ball.
talking about.
Spike ball.
Spike ball.
Yeah, spike ball.
It might be spike ball. Or Few, by the way, is a huge pickleball player.
Yeah,
There
I
you
can
go.
see that.
And he told me he's bringing pickleball. So maybe we'll see like a makeshift pickleball court on top of a parking garage.
We'll get Dave Calabro, Channel 13, Operation Football. On
Pickleball
the case.
was big in the bubble, the NBA bubble.
Andy,
yeah.
we should probably ask you about basketball while we have you here, and not just medicine and laundry and pickleball. Give the people one thing as conference tournament, because the NCAA tournament is the only reason we're having a season. I think the NCAA has not made any secret about that. They're like, we don't care, figure it out. Like, we're just trying to get this NCAA tournament.
We'll see you in March.
So I think, like, for our listeners, we're put in a tough position where we're trying to convince people that these conference tournaments matter and they're interesting, because we're at a point now where it's like just the big boys, and most of the teams left are probably going to make the tournament anyway. So as we sit here tonight, tell us one thing you're looking for between now and Selection Sunday that makes these conference tournaments interesting as they're unfolding in front of us. They could be any conference.
Well, I will just tell you, I mean, obviously I love the drama of a bid stealer, and what's happening in New York to me is fascinating, that Patrick Ewing and the Hoyas sort of left for dead and irrelevant and all that.
Yep.
And look at them now. I thought, no question, the quote of the week, if not the season.
So good.
And I don't want to misquote it, but I will just paraphrase, the fact that Patrick Ewing was basically checked for his credential. And I mean, I wouldn't say, he used the word accosted. I think he meant like, challenged, if you will, for his credentials throughout the Garden, when all he had to do was point to the rafters and say, my name?
Yeah, that guy.
And the fact that Ewing and Georgetown are in the semis against Seton Hall.
Yeah.
And I actually saw that side of the bracket. Now, I was wrong on Marquette, but I thought whoever won that game did have a legitimate shot to beat Villanova.
Yeah, Andy, we thought the same thing, Andy.
Yeah.
I just believed in Marquette.
So now, Georgetown doesn't have to play St. John's.
Mm-hmm.
They play Seton Hall, winnable game.
Mm-hmm.
And then, look, it'd be a reach for them to – I think they can beat Creighton. They've already beaten Creighton. UConn is on fire right now. But if we have a Georgetown-UConn final on
Big
Saturday night at Georgetown with a chance to steal a bid, and how about this one? What if Georgetown was the team that eliminated Syracuse?
Ooh.
Oh,
God.
the bubble.
That is old Big East.
Wow. Georgetown knocks a bubble.
I like it, Andy.
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
They steal a bid. Syracuse slides.
Yeah.
And then I would
Jim
love that.
Boeheim goes crazy.
I would love for the NCAA to come out and say straight up, like, Syracuse was the team. Like, there's no bones about it. If Georgetown would have lost, first team out was Syracuse. Watch Boeheim lose. Andy, what are you up to this March? Like, this is we were told that we might not have you back on. We're gonna try to figure it out. Like, I don't know. We're all busy this time of year, but what Tate and I know what we're doing. What are you doing? Where can people find you?
Okay, first of all, if I can fit it into my busy schedule, then I will definitely be back on as much as you'll have me. So I'm here till Sunday.
Nice.
And then on Sunday, I go to Atlanta, and I will be at the Turner Studios doing some digital. And then starting on the 18th, I will be on the Turner set.
Oh, let's go.
What?
Yes.
Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, and Candace Parker.
Let's go. Yes, Andy. Andy,
you have really moved up in the world for this show.
Don't forget about us. Like, we gotta give you something for everyone watching, like a shout out to the listeners, like that have been listening to you on their show all season.
Say
like,
Boise State, Andy.
Yeah, just say Boise State. Just anytime you say Boise State.
Wait. I'm not saying Boise State anymore after they lost to Nevada.
Anytime you mention Boise State, we'll know that you're giving a shout out to all the listeners of our show. Oh, man. Andy, you're the best. Best
Thanks,
of luck,
Andy.
man. Have fun in Atlanta. That's exciting.
Yeah, we'll be watching.
We'll be watching, obviously. So,
And then I'll be back in Indy, where hopefully I'll see you guys. Maybe if I can get over to the 3-on-3.
yeah, we'll be there hosting that. It's
Wearing tuxedos.
fun times. Andy, we really do, in all seriousness, we don't get serious much on this program, but this has been a lot of fun. This was an arranged marriage of sorts in the beginning, and it has become the highlight of my week every week.
It's been great, Andy.
So
I will say this, guys, and this is one thing, and seriously, hopefully I can see you guys in person. I have been so thrilled. I'm very serious here, to actually see and talk to these coaches and these sports information directors who do incredible work for all of us in person.
Yep.
yeah.
The fact that even if we're masked and we're a couple feet away, but just to see these people that I've not seen in a year,
Yes.
that I deal with all the time, that's been actually one of the best things about being here this week. I'll be honest with you. I just feel like, oh my God, I can see people again.
Yeah.
And that's been a thrill.
Archie
love
Miller said the same. He was excited to see people, and then they said, fire Archie. He was like,
And then he just said, shh.
Andy, you're the best, man. Take it easy.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Andy. Hey there, thanks for watching Titus and Tate. For the full friend of the program experience, subscribe right below and come join us for all things college basketball. The action is heating up. Come join Titus and Tate.